My name is Goyer. I am a co-president of Active Students for a Healthy Environment, also known as ASH. I frequently get asked, hey, are you the girl that runs ASH? I do not run ASH. ASH runs itself. I facilitate ASH, and they are an amazing group of students, and I'm so proud that all of them are here tonight. I've had the opportunity to be part of the youth climate movement for about 4 years now, and because of my involvement, I was asked to introduce Bill McKibben tonight. Although I just met him for the first time about an hour ago, I have been inspired by his words and his work ever since I participated in Asheville's 350-day event in 2009. And it is such an honor that I get to be here once again. Tonight, I would like to share a little bit of my journey with you all, in particular some about my background participation with ASH and also my involvement with Occupy Asheville and why those two are both intertwined really for me. My entire life, I felt really strongly about the ways in which humans objectify each other and objectify the earth. My first experiences with activism were with human rights issues through my liberal church community in middle school and high school. However, when I took AP Environmental Science, the gravity of our current ecological and climate collapse hit me hard. Learning about vanishing fossil fuels, mass extinction rates, dead fisheries, clear-cut forests, the list goes on, it all made me realize that there was not a whole lot of point in fighting for humanitarian causes if there wouldn't be a world left for us to live in. I decided to major in environmental studies. I've actually had a lot of mixed feelings about being a college student. I feel called to lots of different walks of life, and I've actually considered dropping out several times over the past few years. But I didn't do it. I've had some scholarships and some student loans that have kept me afloat. And overall, honestly, I am grateful for my college experience, primarily because I became involved in environmental activism through the student organization. My sophomore year, I joined ASH, and I finally, for the first time, met people who were as passionate about the issues as I was, and I became increasingly literate in environmental policy, legislation, and the overwhelming scientific evidence that is telling us that we are currently driving ourselves towards a black hole of ecological and economic catastrophe. After attending my first Power Shift conference in 2009, was anyone there in 2009? Yeah. I felt really empowered and inspired by the grassroots training and networking experience that I received along with 10,000 other student environmentalists. Later that April, I decided to risk arrest by engaging in nonviolent direct action for the first time. Duke Energy is funding a coal-fired power plant in a small town called Cliffside between Asheville and Charlotte. I, along with over 40 other activists, occupied the area in front of the Duke Energy headquarters, and we were arrested after we refused to leave the property. Were any of you guys there for that? Yeah, thanks guys. Helped spark my activist life. It was more important for us that day to raise awareness about the issue of the coal plant than it was to avoid the discomforts and inconveniences of arrest. I will never in my life forget the amazing feeling of solidarity standing there waiting to be arrested with my arms around friends and strangers alike. Through that action, I became even more committed to the environmental movement than before. When I returned to Asheville, I had new energy to devote towards ASH projects and a renewed dedication for this cause that my whole life is now built around. Speaking of ASH, I would love it if all the ASH members here could stand up for a second. Organized by 350.org. Our event was called the Flip the Switch Benefit Concert for Clean Energy, and we co-hosted it with Mountain Protectors, and they are a local organization that works to raise awareness about Western North Carolina's potential nuclear waste-ridden future. We raised over $600, but more importantly, we helped to pull off one of the coolest intergenerational events that Asheville has seen in a long time. I know many of you probably attended, and I'd like to thank you for coming out for that day. We had a blast. Some of the money that we raised from Flip the Switch was used for a second amazing event this semester, which was the Student Southeast Renewable Energy Conference, called SSREC for short. Yeah. So We can think of SSRAC as kind of a regional power shift. We had over 400 students from across the Southeast converge. We attended workshops on energy problems and solutions. We were trained in grassroots organizing techniques, and we were able to explore energy issues that are unique to the Southeast. North Carolina was able to revamp our state network that we founded after Power Shift in April, and we got a lot of new students plugged in. At the end of the conference, we had a rally on campus, and then we marched downtown. With speakers, street theater, chants, and a banner drop from a local building, we let everyone in Asheville that day know that Obama had the power to stop the Keystone XL pipeline, and that Bank of America and Royal Bank of Canada are major funders of dirty energy. That day, we were in solidarity with the 12,000 people holding hands around the White House to stop the pipeline. Soon after, we found out that Obama had indeed delayed the construction of this devastating project. Although this by no means indicates that our work is done, we now have a taste of what we are capable of. On a slightly different note, Occupy Asheville kicked off at the end of September in solidarity with Occupy Wall Street. I attended one of the first General Assemblies because I was invited by Macon Foscue, an amazing friend and one of ASH's other co-presidents. Although that General Assembly 2 months ago was a little unorganized and many of the participants were new to the consensus process, I was truly inspired. I found myself doing some research afterwards and becoming more literate about the argument of the 99%. I learned that the bottom 90% of us are sharing just 7% of the wealth. I saw the connection between weak or non-existent environmental policies and corporate greed, and I realized that this movement is what we've been waiting for. At my first General Assembly, I met fellow environmentalists, socialists, anarchists, students, parents, teachers, the list goes on and on. I met folks from all walks of life, united by one desire, and that desire is to dismantle corporate control of our politics and build a better future.
I can run this up. Does that work just as well?
By this movement, we are creating the foundation of a new society. We are replacing the culture of greed and money domination with one of a truly participatory democracy. Although the concept of consensus-based decision-making has existed for thousands of years, the Occupy movement has finally ignited a chain reaction, exponentially increasing awareness of direct democracy within the United States and around the world. As I participate in ASH and Occupy Asheville events, I am constantly reminded by the words of a few select people. Bill McKibben is absolutely one of them, and I am still standing here in shock over the fact that I am getting to introduce him tonight. Bill McKibben is the author of dozens of books about the environment, beginning with The End of Nature in 1989, which is widely regarded as the first book for a general audience on climate change. He is a founder of the grassroots climate campaign 350.org, which has coordinated a whopping 15,000 rallies in 189 countries in 2 years. Time magazine refers to him as the planet's best green journalist, and the Boston Globe said in 2010 that he was probably the country's most important environmentalist. A Schumann Distinguished Scholar at Middlebury College, he holds honorary degrees from a dozen colleges. In 2011, he was elected a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Bill grew up in suburban Lexington, Massachusetts. He was president of the Harvard Crimson newspaper in college. Immediately after college, he joined the New Yorker magazine as a staff writer and wrote much of the Talk of the Town column from 1982 to early 1987. After leaving the magazine, he published several books on topics such as climate change, cable TV and how it disconnects us with the natural world, international communities who are living with a lighter carbon footprint, genetic engineering, and sustainable living. Bill McKibben was a keynote speaker last spring at Power Shift. I heard his speech along with 49 other UNCA students, most of them being freshmen and sophomores at their first environmental conference ever. In light of the recent developments with the Occupy movement, I look back and realize that Bill McKibben saw it coming. He took some of his speaking time at Power Shift to call out the connection between dirty money, dirty politics and dirty energy. He told 10,000 students that we will never have more money than those in power, but that we can fight back with our bodies and our creativity, with our minds and with our love. Bill made an analogy between the literal pollution in Beijing and the political pollution in Washington, D.C. He criticized the Chamber of Commerce for spending more money influencing our politics than the Democratic and Republican parties combined. Finally, Bill reminded us that the science of climate change is actually pretty simple, and we cannot wait for our politicians to listen to the laws of nature. Additionally, his words helped me realize that we cannot join this fight because we think we can win. We actually can't know what's going to happen. We must fight because we, this generation, must do what no generation since the First Nations has been able to do. We must change the conception that sustainability can easily or conveniently fit into our lifestyles. We must reframe this issue because in reality, it is our way of life that must change in order to fit within a sustainable future. There is no other way forward. We have power like no generation before. We have the knowledge, we have the passion. This is our time. And tonight is a night like so many others this year that I have had reminding me that right now we are on this right side of history. I recently read a blog article suggesting that nonviolent civil disobedience, such as the tar sands action, was misguided, and that Bill McKibben should run for public office instead. I could not disagree more. Our political system right now is broken. As demonstrated through the Occupy movement, our constitutional rights are no longer being respected because money controls everything. The strategies we employ right now to defend our rights and our environment must be direct. We must give our politicians and law enforcement officers ultimatums and force them to make the decisions that they would rather ignore. Bill McKibben is an inspirational activist because he has worked to promote local community organizing while simultaneously coordinating efforts around the world. The feeling of global solidarity is immensely important because we only have this one Earth and all 7 billion of us have to share it. Thanks to Bill's work, we have been able to see the support and creativity of environmentalists around the globe. We are learning to respect our fellow humans and to appreciate the intrinsic value of our planet. Now that the Occupy movement is also global, we are in an amazing strategic position to fight for our rights, protect our ecosystems, and build for our future. There is no better time than now. As a 22-year-old activist, I share with many of my peers a very real fear of burning out. Where will I be in 10 or 20 years? Will I be living in a house with kids and a TV, working a 9-to-5 job, reading the paper, thinking, what a shame? Or will I be committed to creating a much-needed cultural paradigm shift, building local community, fighting for clean energy, and coordinating regional actions? Bill McKibben is living proof of what we are all capable of. He published the first widely read book on climate change in 1989. That's the year I was born. He spent his life as an activist, and I get so much strength from hearing him speak and knowing what is possible for me and my generation. I would like to thank you all so much for allowing me to share a little bit of myself, and I am so thrilled and honored to welcome Bill McKibben tonight.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think your slide a little bit. I hope you can
good.
fix it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Absolutely no need for me here tonight. That was terrific and great, and I feel very old too.